Welcome to SoCal Surf with Dan Nappy. We're going to talk about a couple of days here, in fact a week. It is Friday, but when Monday and Tuesday we went to Newport, and Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday we went to Huntington. So the situation is that it was just a pretty good size at Newport, plus we had a couple of rookies with us, so we went to the easier beach, I like to call it. So I brought my bigger board. And it would look, the thing was, when we first got there, I looked on the cameras previous to that, and it was smooth and glassy and perfect. Small, but really good looking. So we went to Newport. I got out of the car, and as soon as we got out of the car, a breeze came blowing across. And we're on one of the side streets, so we're protected by the houses. And so I thought, oh, crap. And so we walked down to the sand, and sure enough, it was windy and choppy, and I was saying, you know what, I could go home, but the other three people that were there said, no, we're going to go out. So we walked down towards the pier, in fact, almost to the pier, and went out there, and it was a little choppy, not quite as bad at the pier, but a little choppy, and so I was the first one out. I turned, and a wave came right to me, and I caught it, and it was an awesome wave, left, perfect for me. A little bumpy, but was able to, surf it very well. And I thought, oh, that's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. So I paddled back out, and sure enough, another one came right to me, and I paddled for it and caught it, and it was another left. So two in a row, just really good waves that were probably about waist high, maybe a little bit bigger than waist high. And so it kept going out and kept catching waves, and I caught so many waves in the first half hour I lost count, and I was exhausted from paddling in and out. Usually you paddle out and you wait for a wave or position yourself, but it just kept going and going and going, and the current was going north, so the water was warmer, but the current going north left everybody down by the rocks, and we just kept paddling south and stayed to the south close to the pier, and there was nobody there. So we were getting wave after wave, and we were pretty much close together. And so that was pretty awesome. And then Tuesday came, and I looked at Newport again, and it was still glassy and not bad. So we went back on the second day, and it was still really good. Waist high again, perfect little lefts and rights. I got a few rights on that day and a few lefts. And again, everybody was getting pushed down towards the jetty, the rocks, and we managed to stay closer to the pier, and there was nobody there but us. Occasionally somebody would paddle out and then get pushed down, and they would just go down the beach. But while I was sitting there towards the middle of our session there, a 2-hour session, a group of dolphins came swimming by, and they were close to shore. They were really close to shore, maybe 25 yards. And there was about 4 or 5 of them, I think, and one of them was a baby. You could see the little fin popping up. And so Savannah thought it would be cool to get out closer to him, so she started to paddle towards the dolphins, but that was not a good idea, because Mama circled back and got in between the baby and her and looked right at her. I saw her eye come out of the water and just look at Savannah and me, because I was next to her, and looked at her, and I said, Savannah, that's probably not a good idea. And then the dolphin, mommy dolphin, started snorting out of her blowhole, just one after the other. I says, that's probably your warning, Savannah. So finally she paddled away from them, and they swam off, but they were pretty close, and it's quite interesting. They're a pretty docile animal, but I wouldn't go too close to a baby. Any situation like that's a little bit risky. So that was pretty cool. And then we caught a lot of waves, and then that was it. Then Wednesday came, we decided to go to Huntington, and it was a lot bigger, and the current was a lot stronger. I mean, I paddled out. I was doing everything I could to stay next to the pier, trying to stay as close to the pillars as I could. And by the time I got halfway out, I was almost at almost directly paddling towards the pier. The current was going out, kind of sucking me out slowly. So luckily I was able to get out without even getting my hair wet. So, but then it some big sets came through, and I had to duck dive those. But I caught a really good left that was awesome on that day, and dropped really good, came off the bottom and up to the top, and then it kind of fizzled right there. So I kind of pulled it back to go straight, but wasn't enough wave left to continue. So I didn't want to go any further and have to paddle out through all those sets. So I kicked out of that wave and paddled out as quick as I could. And luckily, there was some breaks in there, and I was able to get out pretty easy. But a few times I was caught inside, and the big waves would come, and I'd have to duck dive, paddle a little bit, duck dive, paddle, duck dive, paddle. So it got exhausting. And then trying to stay close to the pier was impossible for me. Just constant paddling just is exhausting. So I just went ahead and drifted on down, and it didn't take long. I mean, the first wave I caught basically took me almost to the condos. By the time I paddled back out, I was at the condo. So that's roughly maybe a little less than a quarter mile down the beach in one wave. But as I noticed that by the condos, the current wasn't as strong. So it wasn't pushing us very fast down the beach. So we were able to stay closer to the condos. And that's where we all kind of gathered again after we got spread out. And we were able to surf that area without having to get too much, southerly paddling. But I got a really good right and came off the bottom and hit the top just right for me. It wasn't, I'm not talking pro surfer type, but was able to come off the top right as it broke and went out straight and rode it out, which, that's points right there. But we're not in a contest, so it really is irrelevant. And then the second day was Thursday at Huntington, and that was even a little bit bigger, and the current was just as strong. But we were able to get out pretty easy right along the pier and then just get sucked down the beach so fast that I don't even know if I caught a wave before I was close to the condos. But once I did get there, I was able to get a few and stay in that area again. We got a little spread out yesterday, or I guess that was yesterday, I think. But we got down to the condos, and I decided to take a wave in. And so I did, and everybody followed me. And I was going to walk back up to the pier, but once we got out, this gigantic set came, and we looked out, and we thought, I don't want to deal with that. It was just a wall. I mean, there's no peaks, just a wall of water. So we just decided to go in. That was only about an hour and 10 minutes that we were out, which is short, but it was exhausting with the current. You're constantly paddling, and so it's tiresome. And then Friday, I went out alone because everybody else was doing something else. And so I went out on my bicycle, and I met Eric there, and we paddled out alongside the pier. And I caught a wave, and I was thrown out the front of the wave like a slingshot. I guess I took off late. I must have hit the lip, and it just threw me. And I was just flying through the air on the board, and I tried to slide to the back of the board to keep the nose from going straight down, but I was unsuccessful, and the nose went right into the water, and I went straight over the top of it, and then the wave pulled me over the top of that, so we were all tumbling upside down. I didn't know which was which until a couple of seconds, I felt the air on my head, so I turned and looked up and took a breath, and then kind of rolled for a second, and then I pulled a board to me and got on and looked outside, and there was no big sets coming, so I paddled out. But that was like the insignificant me in the ocean. But then as I drifted further north, right by the jetties, I caught another really good wave, and as I took off again, I was late, but this time I was just not quite as late, and I put my foot on the back pad and just dropped like a free fall. And then just managed to hit the bottom and stay on the board, which I didn't know I was going to be able to do that. I was thinking it was going to take me for a little ride again, but I hit the bottom and just did a little bottom turn. It got me right up at the top of the wave, and then just a little cutback, and then rode it looking both right and left to see if there was any wave left. And I saw to the right that the wet white water was starting to fade. So I pulled it left, and it was already gone on my left, and so I just pulled out and paddle back out. So it was, and again, I was down past the condos, so that'd be Tower 10. And that was two waves, and I was at Tower 10 from the pier, which is 0. So it's, let's see, it'd be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, I guess. But they don't have ones on every streets. So it was like 4, 8, 10, and then 12 or something like that. So anyway, by the time I got out, I was at 12, and I walked back, and then just exhausted, just went in. So great surf, pretty big. And tomorrow, being Saturday, 50-50, we'll see what happens. We have guests coming from Alaska, so we'll see what they want to do. And if tomorrow's supposed to be really good, and the rest of the week, next week's supposed to be really good. So we shall see. Thanks for listening. Check out our sponsors, nappyclothing.com, Task Bullet, my book on WordPress, Dan Nappy, and Swing Easy Hammocks. That's right. Oh, got them all. All right. Thanks. I'll see you later. Bye.